There is a plant in the squash family that your grandparents barely talked about. One vine can pump out 50 to 100 fruits a year, enough to replace every zucchini and summer squash in an average family's diet. And in warm climates, the same root crown can keep coming back, year after year, from a tuber the size of a human head. It is richer in folate and fiber than the zucchini sold in the store. Its leaves, shoots, roots, and fruit are all edible, and yet you will almost never see it in a Western supermarket. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it is, why your grandparents were pushed away from it, and how one neglected vine could be quietly feeding your family for the next 20 to 25 years. Its botanical name is Sechium edule. Most people who know it just call it chayote, mirliton, chocho, or vegetable pear. It is a climbing member of the squash family, a cousin of zucchini and pumpkin, but it behaves very differently. Instead of low, bushy plants that die after one season, chayote grows as a vigorous perennial vine from a thick, tuberous root. Each year it sends out new stems that can run 9 to 30 meters long, grabbing onto fences, trellises, or trees with wiry tendrils. Its wild ancestors come from the mountains of southern Mexico and Guatemala, where it was domesticated by pre-Columbian cultures and eaten long before Columbus ever saw a pumpkin. From there it spread throughout Latin America, then across the tropics and subtropics during the Columbian exchange. In Mexico and Central America, it never disappeared. But in North America and Europe, most people barely know its name. Before we talk about why, let's look at what this vine can actually do. Let's compare what you get from a typical zucchini versus a typical chayote. Per 100 grams, cooked zucchini gives you around 1.1 grams of fiber, about 17 milligrams of vitamin C, and small amounts of minerals like potassium and magnesium. Chayote, per 100 grams, comes in at around 1.7 to 3 grams of fiber, roughly 16 milligrams of vitamin C, and a surprisingly rich profile of B vitamins and minerals, especially folate, vitamin B6, copper, and manganese. Nutrition databases put its folate content so high that a single cup can provide nearly half of an adult's daily requirement. Calorie for calorie, both are light, about 15 to 20 calories per 100 grams. But chayote squeezes more micronutrients into those calories, especially if you eat it young and tender. And that's just the fruit. With zucchini and typical summer squash, you eat the fruit and toss the rest. With chayote, you can eat the fruit, the tender shoots and leaves, the seed, and even the starchy underground tuber, which is used like a potato in some cuisines. In other words, where zucchini gives you one edible part, chayote quietly offers you 4. Now add yield. Agronomy data from Mexico and Costa Rica show chayote yields of 45,000 to 66,000 pounds per acre. A single plant routinely produces 80 to 100 fruits in a season when grown well. Farmers in Kenya report 15 to 50 kilograms per plant per year. For a household garden, that translates to this. One vigorous vine can produce more edible food in a season than an entire row of zucchini, and it can keep doing it year after year from the same root. So if it's that good, why didn't it become the default squash in your grandparents' backyard? When you open a seed catalog from the early 1900s in the United States, you see page after page of squash, Hubbard, acorn, crookneck, table queen, and, later, zucchini. You almost never see chayote. It's not because the plant was unknown. Botanists described it centuries ago. Immigrant communities in Louisiana, Florida, and the Southwest quietly grew it under names like mirliton and chocho. The real issue was fit. Chayote is a vigorous vine. It wants a big trellis, a fence, or even a small tree. It doesn't fit neatly into low mechanized rows like bush zucchini. Harvesting it requires walking under vines and picking fruits by hand. It also doesn't look like the squash most Europeans were used to. Its pale green, pear-like shape and sometimes prickly skin-confused buyers. Seed companies preferred varieties that they could market as improved versions of familiar foods. Zucchini fit the narrative. Chayote didn't. After World War II, extension services and seed companies pushed standardized hybrids. bred for uniform size and appearance, into American gardens, just as industrial agriculture was expanding across the countryside. A vine that came from indigenous and Latin American food traditions that needed a trellis and didn't fit a machine was easy to sideline. In some places, there was active stigma. Traditional foods were called poor people's food, and children were encouraged to adopt modern American vegetables instead. Families stopped planting what their grandparents had relied on. No one passed a law banning chayote. But the combination of seed marketing, agricultural policy, and social pressure did something just as effective. It made the plant invisible. Most squash plants are annuals. You plant them in spring. They sprawl, produce for a few months, then die with the frost. Next year, you start over. Chayote plays a longer game. From the moment you plant a single sprouting fruit, the plant begins building a thick, starchy tuber below the soil surface. Above ground, vines race up whatever support you give them. Below ground, a permanent storage organ quietly forms. In tropical and frost-free subtropical climates, that tuber can keep sending up fresh vines year after year. In some regions, gardeners treat the top growth like a deciduous tree, cutting it back after harvest and letting it re-sprout when the rains return. Agricultural bulletins note that the best production comes in years 2 and 3, with vines often remaining productive for 8 years or more before yields slowly decline. In home gardens where tubers are protected and periodically renewed, families report chayote patches producing for 15 to 20 years, sometimes longer, from the same original planting area. Even in cooler climates where frost kills the top growth, gardeners in places like Tennessee and the Mediterranean dig and store the tuber over winter, then replant it, effectively turning one vine into a long-term, reusable food machine. Imagine replacing a row of annual zucchini with one perennial system that, once established, comes back without buying seed, without re-tilling the soil, and without replanting every spring. That is what this vine offers. Fresh chayote fruit, stored in average kitchen conditions, will keep for a week or two, but under the conditions used by growers, cool and humid, those same fruits can store for months. Horticulture guides report that chayote held at around 45 degrees Fahrenheit with 85 to 90% humidity can keep in good condition for 2 to 3 months. That already beats most summer squash. But chayote gives you more than raw storage. It can be pickled like cucumbers and stored for a year. It can be lightly blanched and frozen for winter stews. It can be cooked down into relishes and chutneys that sit safely on a pantry shelf. Outside the English-speaking world, families have been doing this for generations. In parts of Mexico, Central America, and Southeast Asia, chayote is a standard ingredient in soups, curries, and stir-fries. A background vegetable that shows up again and again, long after the fresh harvest has passed. So when you hear feeds a family for 25 years, it is not about one fruit sitting on a shelf. It is about one planting area, one root system, handing you a steady flow of fruit, leaves, shoots, and tubers that can be eaten fresh and stored in different forms across many seasons. If you live in a climate with at least 150 frost-free days, you can grow chayote. Here's the simple version. Number 1, climate check. Chayote thrives in warm, humid areas with day temperatures between 19 and 30 degrees Celsius, or 66 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit. It is happiest in USDA zones 9 through 12, but can be grown in zone 8 and even zone 7, if you protect or lift the tuber in winter. Number 2, planting the fruit. Unlike other squash, chayote is usually planted whole. You take a mature fruit, wait for the single large seed inside to sprout. It often does this on its own. Then bury the fruit on its side with the sprout just above the soil. Number 3, give it something to climb. Install a strong trellis, fence, or overhead arbor. Remember, vines can run 9 to 30 meters in a season. Weak supports will collapse. Number 4, soil and water. It likes well-drained soil rich in organic matter, but is forgiving as long as it is not waterlogged. Mulch the root zone to hold moisture. In dry spells, deep watering once or twice a week is enough for established vines. Number 5. Pollination and fruit set. Chayote has separate male and female flowers on the same plant. Bees usually handle pollination, but in low bee gardens you can hand pollinate with a small brush. Expect flowers 110 to 120 days after planting and fruit about a month after that. Number 6. After harvest. In frost-free climates, cut the vines back to a short stump after fruiting and leave the tuber in place. In colder areas, dig up the tuber like a dahlia and store it in a cool, frost-free space. Replant in spring. 1 or 2 vines are plenty for most households. If you grow more, be ready to share, because you will have more edible green food than you expect. When we say your grandparents were forced to forget this plant, we don't mean soldiers showed up and ripped vines out of their yards. The pressure was quieter and, in some ways, more effective. After World War II, governments and universities across North America promoted a new model of agriculture: high-yield annuals, synthetic fertilizer, and hybrid seeds. Seed companies made more money selling packets every year than reminding you how to keep a perennial vine alive for a decade. At the same time, there was a powerful social message. Modern, successful families ate canned goods, boxed mixes, and standardized vegetables from the supermarket. Traditional crops from indigenous, Black, and immigrant communities were labeled peasant food or poor people's food. In places like Louisiana, older generations kept growing mirliton on backyard trellises, but their children were encouraged to move to cities, shop at big stores, and leave those old foods behind. Extension bulletins rarely mentioned chayote. Seed catalogs gave it a tiny listing, if any. And when a plant is not in the catalog, not in the supermarket, and not on TV, it starts to disappear from memory. So by the time you were born, zucchini and yellow squash were normal, and chayote was weird, even in regions where a single vine had once fed a family and their neighbors. The good news is that what was lost to marketing can be recovered by one decision: to plant what works for you, not what works for someone else's supply chain. There's a story from rural Louisiana about a woman who planted 2 mirliton vines along her back fence in the 1950s. For decades, those vines climbed the same wire, survived storms, and filled baskets every fall. Her kids grew up on them. Her grandkids barely remembered them. And by the time the vines finally died, the only thing left was a handwritten recipe card that started with 3 words: pick 4 chayotes. If you don't want that to be where the story ends, if you want your garden to hold plants that can feed people long after the marketing buzz moves on, hit subscribe and tap the bell. This channel exists so crops like this don't disappear again.